There's growing excitement in the gay and lesbian community after 3 more nations legislated in favour of same-sex marriage. Rainbows are being chalked spontaneously onto pavements on Canberra's foreshore and Gurima Place. For the past 7 years, the ACT government has been working to secure legal equality for same-sex couples. But like the Northern Territory, any such move can still be overturned by the federal parliament. Adrienne Francis meets a Canberra family confident that change is coming.
It's about marriage. It's very recognised as an institution. It's something that my parents were involved with, my grandparents. They all had very strong, successful marriages. And that's what I wanted.
Whether it be a male or a female, it would make no difference to Ivan because he just wanted the acceptance. And he's very determined to get to that stage where they are accepted.
As we are.
Yeah.
You still have those really awkward conversations when strangers come up to you and they ask, "Oh, so are you married?" And then I have to sort of pause and think for a second, you know, what do I say?
And we've been married for 45 years.
The Hinton family chose to be the public face of advocacy for same-sex marriage equality in Canberra with this video recorded last year.
We're not activists, we're just people who want to get married, just like everyone else.
The experience helped propel small businessman Ivan Hinton into the limelight, and he assumed the role of spokesperson for Australian marriage equality in the ACT. The organisation lobbies and advocates for recognition of gay and lesbian marriage. It's a subject dear to Ivan Hinton and Chris Teo.
He didn't make it easy for me. I proposed the first time after 2 weeks of dating, and he thought that that was too soon. Ultimately, there were 7 times that I proposed to him, but each time my heart would be filled with love, I would lose my inhibition and I would construct another way to tell him that I wanted to be with him for the rest of my life. On the 7th occasion, he agreed.
When same-sex marriage isn't recognised in your home country, what does yes actually mean?
The yes would actually mean that to our families that we are really committed to each other. Also, for us, we're committed to each other as well. It doesn't really translate when government doesn't recognise it anyway.
We did have to go through the journey of realising that we weren't going to be the parents of a groom where there's going to be a beautifully adorned bride and there would not be grandchildren with ease, or maybe not at all. Clearly there was going to be a challenge ahead for Ivan and Chris and us as a family.
While much of the opposition to change is based on religious belief, Diane and Ian Hinton say they reconciled their Christian background with gay marriage over time.
I do, and I think we do believe in the circle of life. We believe in that. But we also believe that in our circumstance and the Jesus that we know is one that loves unconditionally. There is no separate community group. He just embraces all. And I think it's as simple as that. I think it's just love.
4 years ago, Ivan Hinton and Chris Teo celebrated their love for each other before 170 guests in Canberra. They travelled to Montreal, Canada, in order to marry. A celebrant officiated commitment ceremony or civil union wasn't enough?
In all honesty, from the point in time where I realised there were other alternatives like civil unions, to me it was a slap in the face. It was about organisations that I didn't know, about political parties that I wasn't affiliated with, telling me that because of my orientation, I'm to be marginalised. I'm to be segregated from the rest of the community based on my sexual orientation alone. And for me, that's not good enough.
The ayes are 77, the noes are 44.
There's been massive shift in the last week. We've just seen this building movement towards marriage equality over the last 12 months, but in the last couple of weeks, it's been astonishing. New Zealand, we've got marriage equality now, which is great. That's a 3-hour flight. So it's far more accessible to Australians. The problem is, as soon as they get back to customs, they're no longer married. And that's really sad.
225.
This week, France, a mainly Catholic country, became the 14th nation to recognise same-sex marriage.
I think the hardliners are starting to soften. I get the feeling that the ones that have always been adamantly saying no are starting to think, oh, you know, maybe it's a possibility. And with New Zealand having such a close and proximate relationship to Australia, I suppose, if they're doing it, then it kind of seems that, you know, we should be doing it too.
As a couple, a long-term de facto couple, you've got so many of the practical opportunities that any other de facto couple would have. So is it symbolism that you're seeking?
Yeah. The rights and the privileges are very similar. The difference is the dignity afforded each relationship, because that translates to the community. The community wonders, why are these people not able to label their relationship the same as ours? Is there something wrong with that relationship? Is there something uniquely different that I should be fearful of? So it is symbolism.
What do we want? Equal rights! When do we want it? Now!
Marriage equality legislation was a key part of the power-sharing parliamentary agreement between the ACT Greens and Labor Party last year. Greens leader Shane Rattenbury says he'd like to see ACT legislation for marriage equality as soon as possible. Attorney General Simon Corbell says a same-sex marriage bill is currently being developed, but there's no date for introduction. The government is continuing to collaborate with Tasmania, despite a historic same-sex marriage bill being defeated in that state's upper house last year. But ACT opposition leader Jeremy Hanson says the matter is best left to the federal parliament.
Marriage equality will be achieved in every jurisdiction, and it's only a matter of time. So ultimately, it would be great if it happened on a federal level and that it happens soon.
Any future legislation for marriage equality in the ACT could be challenged in the High Court or overridden by the federal parliament, but that would require a vote to override in both the House of Representatives and the Senate.
If it doesn't happen on a federal level, what's demonstrated not only in our vicinity, in our region, but also internationally, is that marriage equality will happen step by step.
Most citizens are considered equal. Some aren't. And our group aren't. And our families aren't considered equal. And our children should be. They're just as precious as everybody else's child. So we are no different. We're a family.
Recognition would also allow advocates like Chris Teo and Ivan Hinton to move on with their lives. The trained foster carers are eager to begin a family. But as to whether the couple would be prepared to go through nuptials again in Australia...
If marriage was accessible to me in Canberra, if marriage was accessible to me in Australia, I would get married to Chris in an instant.
Yes, but I'm kind of... When we saw the event planning that we actually did for our last event, it was actually very challenging to negotiate with everyone. That sounds like a lot of work. So I think if I could delegate it all to, you know, Ivan or someone, then I wouldn't mind doing it.